What's up, everybody? My name is Kim Ali. I'm 19, and I wanted to record my cancer story. Yesterday, I got on YouTube, and I couldn't. I was watching other people's cancer stories, and I couldn't find anyone with the cancer that I had because I don't have it now. But I still want to put the video out there because it probably could help somebody. Somebody else might have what I had. So I just wanted to put this video out there. So I know this is gonna be a long video, so it's probably gonna be like 30 minutes long. But it all started like when I graduated high school. I was 17, and when I graduated high school, I didn't know anything about. I still hadn't gotten accepted into a college. I didn't know anything about applying to a college. So I applied to two colleges, and one I didn't like it, and the other one something was wrong with the financial aid. So basically, I didn't go the first semester. The first semester, while everybody else was in college, all my other classmates, I was still trying to find that one college that I wanted to go to. So I found it eventually, and it was ETSU, East Tennessee State. And no, wait, I have to backtrack. Um, the month after I graduated was my birthday, and I woke up that morning and I had these sharp pains in my leg, and they were like, if I would rub my leg, it would hurt. It was like three soft spots, and they were so tender. If I barely touched it, it would hurt. So I didn't know what it was, and I went to the doctor, and they told me to take some leave, and because they didn't see anything wrong with it. He really didn't do anything. He just touched it and looked at it, and he just told me to take some leave. So um on the night of my birthday, everybody went downtown and we went walking on the river. And when I came home, I couldn't walk. My leg was swollen and I could barely make it up the stairs. So I had to basically climb the stairs. And when I looked down, my leg was swollen. One was bigger than the other. So I went, so I just went about my business. I didn't pay it any attention. So that was it. It wasn't a spider bite. I didn't see any marks. I didn't hit it up against anything. And I just didn't pay attention to it. So then I started getting this lump, like on a little bit on the side of my knee, a little bit down. And I thought maybe it was my muscle. I thought my muscle was just growing or something. I really didn't overanalyze it. So, um, what happened? Okay, so I eventually went to school. After that, I had no more problems. Out of that leg, I could do everything fine. I would get up in the morning, I would go jogging. I had no problems. So I went to school and everything was fine. I was going to the gym. I was pushing leg weights, and I one night I was on the phone with my friend Brittany, and I was talking to her, and I was walking through my dorm room, and as I was walking toward the sink, and my leg kind of gave out, but I caught myself on the sink, and Brittany told me to go to the doctor, and at first I didn't really want to go, but I noticed that that lump still hadn't went anywhere, so After class Friday, I got up and went to the doctor. And at this point, I'm 500 miles away from home. I'm in Johnson City, but I really live in Memphis. So that was 500 miles away. So um, I go to the doctor. It's Super Bowl Sunday, and I go to the doctor, and they're watching the Super Bowl, and I told them, everything that was going on, and they drew some blood, even, and they knew I didn't have any family there, so they took care of me, and they drew some blood. They gave me an IV. Um, they did the same thing the first doctor did. They touched it and it's like moving it back and forth. So they were they told me, well, just by looking at it, they couldn't tell what it was. So they went and had me get an ultrasound. So I got an ultrasound of my leg, the bad leg, and I had an ultrasound of the good leg, and they told me this is what it's supposed to look like, but this is what it looks like. So I after that they drew some more blood. After they drew 15 vials of blood, and I was so weak. I literally couldn't lift a French fry because they brought me food, and I had to bend my head down just to pick up a French fry and eat it. And yeah, at this time I was getting worried, so they had me admitted into the hospital. And I called and told my family, and they were, well, my mom was, she was just telling me to keep her posted, and she was gonna come up there. So my friend Robert, that was at school with me, he was the only friend that I knew that was at ETSU. So he came up there and he saw it. By this time, I don't know, it seemed to start growing overnight, and it went from like the size of a golf ball to the size of a baseball. So um, I got admitted into the hospital, and they told me that they would have to do a biopsy. My doctor was Dr. Palmieri, and they told me they were gonna have to do a biopsy. So they basically explained to me what that was. So a biopsy is when they take this long needle. It's about this long and it's really thick, and they inject it into your leg or wherever they need to get a sample from, and it clicks. And when it clicks, it's like taking a sample. It sucks it in, and they had to do that twice. So I was there. I was there, I think, 4 days. I went in on the 8th, February 8th, and I came out on the 12th. So the next day, my mom finally arrived. So she was there with me, and before my mom got there, it was he Dr. Palmieri came in, and he had some interns with him, and his interns were from the Cancer Society. And I was like, why are they here with you if they're from the Cancer Society? I don't have cancer. And then he was like, we're gonna run some tests on the samples, and we're basically just gonna see what it is. And I was like, okay. So after that, that's when my mom got there, and we're basically waiting 3 days to know anything. So they keep coming in, they're taking blood. I had a CAT scan, a biopsy, a ultrasound, and an X-ray, and they were still trying to figure out what it was. So finally, when he came back, on the third day, like today, it was the 12th when he came back. And he came back and he told me that I had synovial sarcoma cancer. And like when he told me that, I instantly like dropped my head, because when someone tells you you have cancer, it like that's all you hear. It doesn't matter what they say after that. Really, all you hear is you have such and such time to live. That's all you hear. So after he told me that, I dropped my head. I just felt like that was a huge blow. And he told me that I would have to drop out of school and go back home and start treatment. So I didn't want to do that. That was the worst part. I really didn't care about having cancer. I was really upset that I had to leave school, and I was only there a month after I finally got into the school that I wanted to get into. So that was kind of hard. I cried the whole day because I just felt like I was gonna die. And it was kind of hard because I didn't tell all of my professors, because those were just, I only had one class where the teacher knew every student, because we only had 12 people in the class, but the rest was like a big audience, and one professor, and it's like 100 people. So it was kind of hard telling people, because every time I would tell somebody, I would get emotional. And I had to tell my roommate, and I told Robert, and I told one of my teachers, and I told a few other friends that I made while I was there. And yeah, it was hard to tell them. And so the rest of my family came, and we went home. And like the whole ride there, I was, I don't know if I had come to terms with it, but I don't know what it was. I just wasn't sad anymore. So when I came home, of course, everybody came to see me. That's when, people started coming out of the woodworks, and everybody was feeling sorry for me, and everybody was basically, it was basically love but covered in pity. So it was kind of like they were pitying me, and people were telling me, well, now that you have this, you need to do this and you need to do that. And it was just so crazy how people could tell me what I need to do because something happened to me. And so when treatment started, I went to go see my first doctor. It was Dr. Heck. And Dr. Heck told me that I wouldn't need I wouldn't need chemo. I would only need radiation. So when I found that out, I was like, well, okay, that's good. So I started radiation. I got I went to this one doctor for radiation, and this is what happened. She had me sign this piece of paper, and on the paper it said, we are going to start your radiation today. She said, we are going to treat this aggressively, and we are going to just hit it hard. We are going to try to just knock it out. So I said, okay. And they tell you radiation does not hurt. Radiation does hurt. It doesn't hurt when you're getting it, but it hurts after the fact. So I went in there, I laid on the table, and all radiation is they're shining a light on your leg or wherever you have it. They're shining a light. And I'm like, I get up, I'm like, that was it? And she was like, yeah, you can go home. So I go home and I'm sitting on the counter and I'm texting people, and when I get up off the counter, my leg was going numb. I could barely move it. So I had to crawl to the bed, and once I got up on the bed, here comes the worst pain of my life. It felt like trucks were rolling over my leg. That was the worst pain ever. So, um, I was literally, I couldn't imagine a more severe pain. And they tell you that radiation doesn't hurt, but it does. And so I was taking, I was taking a leave to try to relieve the pain. Nothing would work. So, my leg had swelled up, and my foot and my ankle, everything had swelled up. And so the next day when I went in to get my next doses of radiation, um, I went in on a cane. So she asked me, why are you on the cane? And I told her. She didn't believe me. In her mind, she was assuming that because I was black, I was trying to get narcotics from her. To, I don't know if she thought I was going to abuse the prescription, or if she thought I was going to abuse the prescription or sell it for a profit. I don't know what was going through her head, but she basically told me that I was lying and nothing was wrong with me. Radiation does not hurt. So I asked her, has she ever had cancer? She said no. So there's no way she would have ever known. And so she told me, we didn't give you radiation yesterday. And I said, yes, you did. And she said, no, I didn't. I said, well, where's the paper that I signed yesterday saying that I was going to receive my first dosage of radiation? She didn't recall making me sign a paper. So that was basically the end of that. So we went and talked back to Dr. Heck and explained the whole situation. He said, well, since you didn't take the radiation well, we are going to get you started with chemo. So I have to go see a new doctor, Dr. Portnoy. Dr. Portnoy is a chemo specialist. Um, when I first got there, they made me sign. You have to sign. It's like every time you go to a new doctor, you have to sign like a book of papers, and they give you all these pamphlets and everything. So, um, when I went back to Dr. Portnoy, they draw blood every time you go to the doctor, they draw blood. So they didn't draw blood this time, and they said, you have a surgery today. And I was like, what? And they said, yeah, you have a surgery. And I was like, for what? And they said, you have to get your port-a-cath so you can receive chemo. I didn't know what a port-a-cath was. So there was this nurse. She when I went into the operating room, and I laid on the table, and she put the needle in my arm, and she closed the door, and she said, "I have a port-a-cath," and she said, "No one here knows that I have it." And she raised up the side of her shirt, and it was like on her side, and I touched it, and you couldn't see it, but if you felt it, you could tell something was there. So she said, "You are probably going to gain some weight during this, and that weight is going to cover it up." But I didn't gain any weight. I don't have any fat in my chest to sustain a port-a-cath, but I still got one, and I still have it here. That's it. And basically, a port-a-cath is hooked up to your main artery in your heart. So when they give you your chemo, they stick this long hook needle into your port-a-cath, and it just pumps the chemo throughout your whole body, not just the affected area, your entire body. So I started having problems out of my port-a-cath because I didn't have any fat in my chest. It was basically sitting on nerves and muscle. So one day I was sitting in the living room. It was early in the morning, and everybody had left to go to school. And I was just sitting there, and I couldn't get up. I couldn't move, and I was basically paralyzed. And I was unable to move. I couldn't do anything. And so I called I called my dog's name, and my dog got up, and she went and opened my grandma's door, and then I yelled her name, and that's when she heard me. She had to come help me up because I couldn't move. And so after this is about, like, the sharp pains last about a month. And they told me don't lay flat because the same thing may happen again. So I started getting the chemo at this point, and I go in there, and I have no idea what's going to go on. The lady comes in, she said, "Well, you're going to get your first chemo today, and we're just gonna," she said, "you're gonna feel a little weak, and your hair is gonna thin out a little," and basically sugarcoating the whole thing. So um what happened was, when I started getting the chemo, I was feeling okay. I didn't know I was going to be in there for 5 hours, and I was wondering why everybody had their iPads and their laptops and their games. I didn't know I was going to be sitting there for 5 hours. And so waited. I sat through the whole thing. I didn't know that I was going to be there that long. So we left, and they gave me this bag full of chemo, and it's hooked up to my port-a-cath. So all while I'm walking around, chemo is still being pumped into my body, like 24/7. So, and for those of you who don't know anything about chemo stinks. The smell is terrible, and it makes, like, the color. I don't know if everybody has the same color. I saw people in there with different color bags, but my chemo liquid was orange, and it turns your pee orange. So um basically I started feeling weaker and weaker, and I didn't have any appetite. I didn't want to eat anything. Everything smelled terrible to me. It's basically like being pregnant. You have all those symptoms of nausea. You feel like you have to throw up. You don't want to eat anything. Everything stinks. And you're tired all the time and you're sleepy all the time. Whenever I wake up, everybody's going to sleep. When I go to sleep, everybody's waking up. That was my routine. And I don't know why the chemo made my foot swell up even more, but I didn't wear shoes for 3 months. I wore flip flops. So um basically I didn't feel like myself. I was on chemo a week. They put you on chemo a week. You're off 2 weeks. You get back on another week. You're off 2 weeks because your body has to recover. So I'm while I'm getting the chemo, I'm in bed. I don't eat anything. Over the course of a week, I lose 30 pounds. And when I finally got up, this is one of the days. This is the Friday. No, this is the Monday after I stopped chemo for that week, my first session. I get up and I go in the bathroom and I look in the mirror, and the person in the mirror it looks nothing like me. I did not recognize that person. And I looked in the mirror. I was in shock that that was me. I mean, my hair was falling out. I had these black spots all in my face. My lips were turning dark. I had bags under my eyes. I was skinny. I could see every bone in my body. And I just didn't recognize myself. I looked like a living zombie. And there was also I didn't like I'm not one of those people who are so hung up on how they look and being superficial and care about vanity or anything. But that was the ugliest I've ever felt in my life. I felt so ugly. And so I don't know. I just felt like some type of monster, like something out of a horror movie. So after that, I go and try to put on some of my clothes. I couldn't fit anything. None of my clothes. I had just bought a lot of clothes and I couldn't fit any of them. The pants that I had, there were before I got on chemo, they were on the verge of being too little. Now they were too big. They were like 5 sizes too big, and I didn't go anywhere. I didn't leave the house. I didn't go anywhere. I didn't allow people to be around me because I felt like I would be an embarrassment to myself. So I didn't allow people to take pictures around me or take pictures of me. I didn't want to be in anybody's pictures. I stayed in the house. I didn't leave the house unless I was going to a doctor's appointment. I didn't leave the house for 2 months. And while I was on my break from chemo, I Googled um alternatives alternative treatments other than chemo. So this is what I found out. So people might want to take note on this. When you are diagnosed with cancer, you are instantly worth $250,000 to your doctor. Now your doctor might help you. He might be one of those people that really want to help you. But while he's helping you, you are lining his pockets. So when I Googled everything about chemo and I learned some alternatives, it was After I learned the alternatives, I learned everything bad that chemo does to you. Chemo destroys your body, and that cancer is in your body too, so it's killing it, but it's killing you in the process. And like I never thought in a million years that I would get cancer, and I don't mean to sound racist when I say this, but I didn't think it was a black people's disease. I thought it was a white person's disease. But I didn't think people of color could get it because you never really hear about black people getting it that much, not as opposed to white people. And after that, even when I knew what kind of cancer I had, I still didn't know. I had never known anyone who had cancer. So I was kind of in it alone because I had nobody I could talk to, nobody I could, you know, compare myself to, compare my situation to. So when I went back to the doctor, I told him I didn't want to have chemo anymore because I think when you're getting chemo, you forget that it's a choice. And I chose to end it. I didn't want to do chemo anymore. So he tried to talk me into, no, you need it, and uh well, Dr. Hicks said, and you need this, and is going to do this and going to do that, and I was like, no, I don't want it anymore. I don't like what it's doing to me. I don't like how it's making me look. I don't like how it's making me feel. I've lost 30 pounds in a week, and that's just it. I can't do it anymore. So while I was still okay, when you're off chemo, chemo stays in your body like 3 months. So while I was off chemo, they told me, okay, we're gonna try radiation again. I go to the new doctor, Dr. Geishan. He they when they did it, it was the radiation went well. I did 28 radiation treatments, and I never missed one. And there was still the side effects. You might get a burn. You can get a radiation burn. You won't be radioactive. You will lose the hair in that area, which was on my leg, and that's basically it. You get a burn and you lose the hair, and you might have some pain like 15 minutes after, but after that it's basically over because they didn't give me large dosages. They gave me, you know, enough over the course of 28 days. So I did that, and I went and asked my doc. Well, when the radiation was over, I went back to Dr. Heck, and he said, "Now we're going to schedule to get the tumor removed." So um, he planned a date, and the date was no, they had to reschedule, and I was like I was getting ready to like get it out. I didn't go to sleep at all that night because I was excited. I know I was supposed to be kind of like nervous, but I was more excited than anything because I was just ready to get it out. And some people just didn't understand. Like people was saying, like, through this whole thing, people were saying I was lying, and I don't know if they thought I wanted attention, but why would I leave school? And it's just like if somebody tells you they have cancer and you're not a doctor, so you have to believe them. I mean, it's not a joke at all. And um after that, They told me before, 24 hours before my surgery, they told me I couldn't eat or drink anything. So I didn't. And when I got there, they the lady brought me down to the waiting room where everybody who had surgery that day were waiting. They were like in separate little areas in the same room though. And the lady came in and she said, I'm going to be your anesthesiologist. And she took my arm. I had an IV in my arm. She took that and she stuck the needle inside the IV to start my anesthesia. And when you get anesthesia, you get the biggest smile ever on your face. You just smile for no reason, and it's so funny. You laughing at everything, and nobody has said anything. You just smile and you're laughing. And after that, when they start to roll you out of the room, that's all you remember. And I woke up. I woke up in this white room, and there was this lady bending over the table doing something. And I tried to talk, so basically I had to wake my vocal cords up, and I couldn't talk. I could say an entire sentence. The only thing that would come out is the last word of that sentence. So I fell asleep again, and I woke up, and everybody was surrounding me, and well, when I was like I couldn't talk, and I was breathing funny, and yeah, that was. Then I fell asleep again. I woke up. When you have had anesthesia in your body, you can't eat or drink anything after the fact because you would throw it up. Like if you drink water, you would throw it up. And so after that, I had this huge cast on my leg. I had to learn how to walk again. And they told me, he said, you will be out of here. You will be out of school for another 6 months. And I was like, I don't have that kind of time. I need to go back to school. And so I told him I don't have that kind of time. So he told me it would take me 3 months to start back walking, to even get up to attempt to start walking. And after a month, I had started walking. And when I went back to him, he said that I amazed him because no one has ever made such a quick recovery. And now I don't have the cast. I don't have, I still have the scar. That'll never go away. But they took out part of my knee when they took out because the tumor had ate up part of my cartilage. So they had to take that, and cartilage, it repairs itself. So if you take out some cartilage, it'll grow back. But I can now do like 65% of everything I used to do. Like I can't run. I can jump, and I can do almost everything, but I can't run. So yeah, and I can't be on my leg for long. So now I stand back on my legs. Well, I stand back on one now. The other one is kind of like stiff, and I can't feel anything in my leg. So um, I think that's it. That's it. I'm trying to remember. Um, I don't know if anybody. Well, if I could give any advice to people, because you never think in a million years that you would have cancer. So if I could give any advice to anybody, it would be to listen to your body, because my body was sending me warning signs. It was sending me signals, but I ignored it. And just listen to your body. Your body will tell you if something's wrong. So just listen. And um and for those of you who might be going through chemo right now or radiation, or might have just been diagnosed with cancer, there's this product called alkaline water, and I think that's what got me through it. There's like, it kind of flushed the chemo out of my system, made my hair start growing back, and it kind of like, but I think it cleans your whole body. So that is what I had. And just, if you have cancer, you just need some people around you that will motivate you, because I felt like when people would tell me, "Oh, you have to do it. You just got to do it. You have to," and it was so easy for them to say it because they didn't have to do it. I had to do it. So, and there was so many times when I wanted to give up, and I wanted to call the whole thing quits. I didn't want to go on with anything anymore because I don't know, just felt like the world was out to get me, but it's not. Everything it gets better if you just just stick in there, and just try to see your way through. It's gonna get tough. It's gonna get hard before it gets easy. So I don't know, all these cliches coming up. It's always darkest before the dawn, all that, and you just need a good support system. Like I had the best support system in the world, and I got through it. And now it's November, and I go to school in January. I'm finally going to art school, and I thought of it as a way of God saying that school wasn't for you. It's time for you were meant to go to art school. So that was, even though I had to go through that, I had to go through that to get to what was destined for me. So I hope this video helps anybody with synovial sarcoma or any type of sarcoma. Just I hope this helps.